ourselves from their binding forces and make a choice as to whether or not we relate or don't relate. We are humans on a planet. And as such, that's all we are, material. We're not men, we're not women, we're not Americans, we're not French. We're humans on a planet. Now there's some genetic assignments. We have male genetic assignments, we have female genetic assignments. But beyond that, our assignments are quite fictional. And it is the releasing of this fiction which causes true independence, true freedom. It doesn't mean that you don't realize that in the midst of what has been developed on this planet, that there are certain things that you don't acknowledge because you will spend your life being incarcerated if you don't. And that isn't the freedom that we are most in need of. The freedom that we are most in need of is to disassemble all of the patterns that stand between our conscious awareness and our infinite capacity. And all of those patterns that stand between our conscious awareness and our infinite capacity are actually a map to our infinite capacity. Whatever is your limitation, whatever is your genetic limitation, whatever is your genetic emotional, your genetic physical, your genetic psychological limitation, meaning whatever your bloodline contributed to your existence, whether it was contributed genetically or it could have been contributed experientially. If you approach it in a neutral way, rather than a defiant way, you will understand within it is the map. Within all of your patterns is the map to your infinite nature. The only creatures that are territorial, that create boundaries, are carnivores. So all nation states were born out of carnivorous behavior. Human carnivorous behavior took place when the ice ages descended through regions of the planet and wiped out food stocks that were available to herbivores. And so the herbivores that survived were the herbivores that could eat very challenged foods. Deer can eat the barks of trees. You can't. And so in particular areas on the planet, as the human being was evolving, climatic conditions became so severe that humans became carnivorous, omnivorous, and then carnivorous. And as they created these carnivorous conditions, they began to establish territories. This was my territory. And little by little, there was a ranking, there was a hierarchical nature that took place. And a ruler, a leader, would be in command of a particular territory. And this all evolved over thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. And the word patriotism, or what is thought of as being loyal to your nation, actually means simply being loyal to the patriarch, to the dominant male figure. That's all patriotism means. So to understand these terminologies, to understand these memes, the meme of nation states, the meme of being loyal to nation states, allows you, gives you the freedom to make a decision. Is this an essential component in my evolution? Or is this just a necessary distraction? Because we're not going to dissolve this. This is very entrenched. But we're also not going to evolve to our enlightenment through it, whether it be a religious allegiance, whether it be a national allegiance. The only thing that allows us to enlighten ourselves is true freedom. Being able to dissolve and resolve all of those components that sit between our conscious awareness and our infinite capacity. So being able to comprehend these things as they are, for what they are, is essential. But it's essential that you comprehend them in a neutral state, rather than comprehending them in a defiant state. Because the moment you begin to defy what the majority of humanity believes in, you become the enemy. And that could take several lifetimes to unfold. Because once you become an enemy, you epigenetically imprint yourself with a particular posture. And it takes lifetimes to undo those epigenetic imprints. Freedom is as essential to human existence as water. Because freedom is the capacity within each moment to make a decision as to what tools you're going to use to comprehend the moment. And in each moment that you comprehend, you understand its place in the map to your enlightenment. For example, you have these genetic patterns that surround you. And these genetic patterns can be physically oriented, emotionally oriented, psychologically oriented. And they surround you and they interfere with your decision making. As a matter of fact, sometimes they don't interfere, they simply control. And so you have these patterns that surround you that are laid in place by your bloodline. If you take offense to the patterns that surround you, if you feel betrayed by the patterns that surround you, then the patterns that surround you, that they are living forms, they are genetically living forms, work to protect themselves because no living form wants to perish. So if you attack the patterns that surround you, the physical patterns, the emotional patterns, the psychological patterns, you become a slave to those patterns because those patterns become very strong. You defy a pattern, it becomes stronger. You deny a pattern, it becomes stronger. You embrace a pattern, it begins to dissolve. It's just like a friend or an enemy. If you shake your finger at someone, they become stronger in what they believe in because they're being attacked. But if you take that same finger and join the other fingers and put your arm around them, they begin to relax who they are and begin to comprehend who the we are, you and they. So the same thing occurs with the patterns that are involved in you. And many of these patterns are extremely painful. Extremely painful. Because they are so close to you, they are so locked into you, They are literally what you have to move through in order to move on. And so when these patterns are embraced, Yogi Bhajan used to say, embrace to erase.
Mm-hmm.
When these patterns are embraced, they begin to tell you things like how you can get around them. And the beauty of these patterns is that the patterns that we hold within us will appear in the people that are attracted to us. And oftentimes what they'll appear as is really magnified versions of those conditions that are within us. And that's when the people that surround us will become the most offensive to us.
Mm.
You know, family members are big perpetrators of these kinds of situations. The job that we have to do when somebody is displaying a magnified version of a very small piece of